To my great relief, I was placed in a cell in a building we called the gun shed, with 2 other prisoners, both Air Force majors, George Bud Day and Norris Overley. I could have asked for no better companions. There has never been a doubt in my mind that Bud Day and Norris Overley saved my life. Bud had been seriously injured when he ejected. Like me, he had broken his right arm in 3 places and had torn the ligaments in his knee, the left knee in his case. After his capture near the DMZ, he had attempted an escape and had nearly reached an American airfield when he was recaptured. He was brutally tortured for his efforts and for subsequently resisting his captor's every entreaty for information. First held in a prison in Vinh before making the 150-mile trip north to Hanoi, Bud had experienced early the full measure of the mistreatment that would be his fate for nearly 6 years. His captors had looped rope around his shoulders, tightened it until his shoulders were nearly touching, and then hung him by the arms from the rafter of the torture room, tearing his shoulders apart. Left in this condition for hours, Bud never acceded to the Vietnamese demands for military information. They had to refracture his broken right arm and threatened to break the other before Bud gave them anything at all. He was a tough man, a fierce resistor, whose example was an inspiration to every man who served with him. For his heroic escape attempt, he received the Medal of Honor, one of only 3 POWs in Vietnam to receive the nation's highest award. Because of his injuries, Bud was unable to help with my physical care. Norris shouldered most of the responsibility. A gentle, uncomplaining guy, he cleaned me up, fed me, helped me onto the bucket that served as our toilet, and massaged my leg. Thanks to his tireless ministration and to the restorative effect Bud and Norris's company had on my morale, I began to recover. Bud and I remained roommates for about another month. When the Vietnamese observed that I could get around on my crutches, they moved Bud to another cell. In April 1968, Bud was relocated to another prison, and I was moved into another building, the largest cell block in the camp, the warehouse. I cannot adequately describe how sorry I was to part company with my friend and inspiration. Up until then, I don't believe I had ever relied on any other person for emotional and physical support to the extent I had relied on Bud. Bud, whose injuries were nearly as debilitating as mine, helped me enormously by building my confidence in my eventual recovery. He joked often about our condition and got me to laugh about it as well. When other POWs teased us as they observed us hobbling along to the showers, no one laughed harder than Bud. Bud had an indomitable will to survive with his reputation intact, and he strengthened my will to live. The only sustenance I had in those early days I took from the example of his abiding moral and physical courage. Bud was taken to a prison, the zoo, where the conditions and the cruelty of camp authorities made the plantation seem like a resort. He would suffer terribly there, confronting the full force of man's inhumanity to man. But he was a tough, self-assured, and amazingly determined man, and he bore all his trials with an unshakable faith that he was a better man than his enemies. I was distraught when he left, but better prepared to endure my fate thanks to the months of his unflagging encouragement. I bid goodbye to him warmly, trying not to betray the sadness I felt to see him go. I would remain in solitary confinement for over 2 years.